What would you change about the way meetings are run and how money is spent?
Well, Robert's Rules of Order has been a pretty good standard for most organizations I've been involved in, whether it's PTA or other organizations. And I do believe that is a good standard to use for format. However, there is room for flexibility. Some locals have steward reports. Some locals offer other items that goes along with that within the Robert's Rules of Order, in which members learn what's going on within their local to keep that up. But also, I think that when we overlook something during the meeting and it's brought up under good of the union, not being afraid to go back. I have seen at one time when a motion was voted on twice in the same meeting, in which it failed at one point, and then when a number of people left the meeting afterwards under good of the union, it was voted on a second time to pass. If that can happen, then we can go back at any time. And the recording secretary has the right to write in rough notes on a notepad and write it in the book after the meeting if he so chooses. It's in the publication of the IBEW.
And lastly, would you change anything about the way money is spent in our local?
I am seeing too much imports being used in our building. I would like to, when it comes to the choice of building materials, when we are faced with using imports over U.S. made, I think it ought to go to a body vote, not just a building corps vote. We've had a president that decided on his own to put Chinese-made flooring in the building. That person is no longer in the IBEW. He served as president. It wasn't for that, it was for other reasons. The lighting being made in China, I don't agree with. If we cannot replace union-made materials with other union-made materials, then perhaps we need to keep what we've got until we can.
Well, you really can't change the way meetings are ran because they're by Robert's Rule of Order. The way money is spent, I really can't even answer for that because that would be the financial secretary's job 100%.
I think meetings should, like the actual meeting business part of it, could probably get knocked out in about 30 minutes. I would just have the minutes printed off, and if everybody come in, first part of the meeting, read the minutes. Or before the meeting, read the minutes. If something needs to be amended, first thing we do is amend this, make a motion to amend this part of it. Okay, good, done. There you go. You just saved 7 minutes of reading over everything we just talked about the last meeting. So I think it's simple stuff like that. I would make this a strict business meeting. We're going through the bills. You could probably take out the good of the union, all that other stuff. Save that to the second part. Listen, the business is complete. Everybody, you're welcome to go home. Hey, we're going to have a roundtable here for anybody else interested. Good of the union, some events coming up. We're going to sit and talk about it, maybe do a little bit of planning. If you're interested, this is where you come. If you got some stuff you want to talk about, if you need some advice, you're going to flesh out some ideas, here. But just know we're going to be really honest with you. If it's stupid, we're going to say it's dumb. But we're going to talk about it really subjectively and, objective, right? Not subjective. We're going to be really objective in this meeting, in this process. So we're going to destroy all bad ideas, but good ones, we're going to hold on to them. We're going to do something with them. That's what I would love.
That's another one that I think I would have to get my feet underneath me before I could really come up with a plan. I don't know what changes could be made. I've not been around for the past couple of years, so I couldn't even speak to how the money is being spent currently. Again, it's hard to say without actually being in that role.
Okay.
I don't know if they're still doing like the recruiting at high schools and stuff like that. I know that Nate is kind of branched off and doing his own little thing, but it still kind of ties back in. And I know he's feeding people back into the program, which I think is awesome. I would like to get a little more information about, his stuff and what he's doing, see if there's not some way we can support that a little bit more, since he is actually feeding members our way. But again, that's one of those things where I kind of got to get into the office and find out what can and can't be done.
In the meetings, I mean, we do vote on how money is spent. So that kind of segues into that other question about, getting more people involved in the hall. The meetings themselves need to be more accessible to people who do not speak English well. The meetings themselves are, of course, run by, Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, there's only so much that can change. However, making it more accessible to people who do not speak English, and maybe a short written guide on how meetings work. I don't know. As far as how we spend money, and I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to here, but I do think that we need to be, the hall itself needs to be helping apprentices with, especially in the first couple of years, with the books. That's not going to break us. And we can ask for things in return. We can ask for attendance at the hall meetings. We can ask for good grades, passing grades. And I have kind of an idea of maybe having a craft fair once a year that would be able to showcase what apprentices have learned and what they know and what they can do. And that if we had like representatives from Klein and Greenlee and Milwaukee there, maybe we can get some sponsorships going on also. There are things that we can do. There are a lot of things that we can do that we have not done.
Everything that we're going to do as far as the monies and even the way the business is run is set in parameters by the IO. So much money spent, and you have to get permissions from the 10th district and stuff like that. But there's ways to get money to things that we believe in and that we feel can help our members. Not really circumventing, but kind of leaning into that boundary, that parameter. And I do vow to look at not breaking the rules, but leaning on them a little bit in our favor when it comes to that. As far as the motion is made to donate money. My job is then to get a second and get a vote on it, and if anything, advise to what the next steps of that's going to be like, and before we take a full vote on it, and make sure that everybody's not just half or uneducatedly just throwing their support at an idea that may never be able to even come to fruition, no matter how much we look at it. But as far as the way the unions meetings are run, there's a Robert's Rules of Orders dictate how we're supposed to run it. I promise that everybody will be heard as long as it's in an orderly manner. I would have no reason to change anything, I don't guess. Like I said, I'd like to see the numbers get up, and that is a job that I am willing to take upon and look into making sure that happens.
Well, the meetings are ran according to Robert's Rule of Order and the business that we take care of. So we have established business that we have to take care of and approved by the membership before we can act on anything. What was the second part?
How money is spent?
Money is spent. That has to be approved by the membership also. But the Department of Labor not the Department of Labor, but the district has implemented some policy that we have to adhere to. So a lot of things that we do pass still has to be approved by the International 10th District.